Do you believe your time as Premier is about to come to an end this weekend?
Well, the people of Tasmania will make that decision, and I have total respect for the people's decision. But what is important here, and in your intro, is that as Premier of the day, I see that as a real privilege. It's a job I want, for sure, but with it comes very intense scrutiny, and no one could argue I haven't had intense scrutiny on me over the last 22 months. The facts of the matter are, though, that the Tasmanian Greens have run an extremely slick campaign, probably the slickest in terms of marketing campaigns I've ever seen in a Tasmanian election. It's a very, very good one. But what that has allowed them to do is to basically avoid any real scrutiny of their actual policies. Now, it is the Tasmanian Greens policy to give every prisoner the vote in Tasmania. So why is it a dirty tricks campaign, I guess, when Labor simply points that out?
Also, so you actually don't think it was a dirty tricks campaign? These ads, these robocalls have been binned, but you actually don't think that was the right way to go?
Well, the buck stops with me in terms of the campaign. I accept that it's my responsibility to take the commentary, I suppose, about campaign tactics, but that's not what this campaign's about. But hang on. We need to clarify something here. We started off this conversation by talking about the government and the party having stopped those robocalls that alleged not only giving violent criminals the vote, also the Greens would legalise heroin. And you yesterday agreed to do that. But now in this conversation you're saying, why should that be called a dirty tricks campaign? You don't see that as a dirty tricks campaign? Well, put it this way, Virginia. If I said in the Parliament, as Nick McKim's deputy did, that heroin should be legalised, it would be front-page news for days and days and days in Tasmania. No, but
you can only get to that line by a rather cute reconsidering of the Hansard. That's actually not the absolute direct quote.
Sorry, I disagree with you entirely there. It is on the Hansard. It is Nick McKim's policy to give hardened criminals the vote. It is Nick McKim's policy to drain Lake Pedder when we need more renewable energy. Now, these things are... My point is, Nick McKim is setting himself up in the event of a hung parliament to unilaterally appoint who gets to be the next Premier. Now, if he wants that sort of privilege, that sort of responsibility, with that must go the equivalent level of scrutiny. And I think that's a reasonable thing for Tasmanians to expect, that, yes, a Premier should be intensely scrutinised for his policies and the words he or she chooses to use, but so too, at this point in the campaign, should an alternative Premier or a person who wants to appoint the next Premier. And that is exactly what Tasmanians should expect. Nick McKim is a very good ad man. He's run an excellent, slick campaign, but he has avoided all scrutiny of his policies because of that.
The Greens have no policy to legalise heroin. Are you trying to say this morning that they do?
I'm saying that the only quotes used on this material were direct quotes from Hansard. People can make up their own mind about what those Hansard quotes say.
There's no Greens policy to legalise heroin, is there?
Well, people can make up their own mind.
No. That's a yes or a no. That one.
Cassie O'Connor said.
There actually is no Green policy to legalise heroin.
I'm happy to answer this. I'm happy to answer this because Nick McKim said on radio just 5 days ago it wasn't his policy to give hardened criminals the vote. That was a fib. It is his policy to do that. It has not changed on the Greens party website. And 5 days later he admitted the only way he could change Green policy was to go to a vote of faceless men and women of the Greens party.
All right.
So he doesn't even have control over his own policy.
We note that you're not answering the question about heroin.
These are questions for Nick McKim, not questions for me. My policies are totally scrutinised and I stand by all of them. I stand by our policy, for example, to roll up our sleeves and work with Kevin Rudd to end the blame game in hospitals. I stand by our policies to improve educational outcomes in Tasmania. I stand by our policies to keep the momentum going in the Tasmanian economy, protect jobs. I will stand by all of those. Nick McKim seems to want to run a mile from his.
All right, well, it would seem that he's very much got you rattled, though, in this campaign, hasn't he? Our entire conversation this morning has been about him, his slick campaign, his good campaign and his policies.
Well, Virginia...
So he's got you on the run at least.
No, with all due respect, Virginia, there is a media obsession, yes, with a hung parliament, no doubt about it. And so, yes, unfortunately, a lot of this campaign has been talked about in the media, and the questions I've been asked, therefore, are about hung parliaments. But on the streets, in the shopping centres, in the pubs and the clubs and all the other places that I've been talking to Tasmanians, they're not talking about that at all. They're talking about better hospital care and who can deliver it. They're talking about better opportunities for their kids in jobs and in education and who can deliver it. It is an obsession, yes, of the commentariat, but it's not of of Tasmanian people.
We'll have to leave it there. Thanks for your time this morning, David Bartlett.
Thanks, Virginia.